Hello, this is Ellen Wang, and I'm opening up and welcoming you to the November 8th meeting of the Senior Citizens Commission. We will start with the roll call of the commissioners.
Okay. Commissioner Bluth is absent. Commissioner Foreman?
Here.
Commissioner Webb? Oh, she will be joining us shortly, hopefully. Vice Chair Lee?
I'm here.
And Chair Wang?
Right here.
Perfect. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Let us say the Pledge of Allegiance. Will we have a flag? If you'd like to stand.
Yes, I'm getting it online right now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we go to the consent calendar, we will have and a ceremony in a few minutes. I'd like to make a reminder about Zooming. Due to the physical distance protocols in place at this time, we continue to encourage public participation remotely. Information on how to provide public comment is explained at the top and bottom of the published agenda. And there are two ways to participate: joining by a Zoom meeting by clicking on the link at the top of the agenda, and use your raise your hand button to be called on at appropriate times. And I think the raise the hand button is on the bottom. Please turn off your video and unmute yourself only when called upon. Phone-in participation can be done by calling 408-638-0968 with the conference ID 861-9863-4583. And the passcode is the 151820. Press star 9 to raise your hand to be called on, and star 6 to unmute yourself when called on. These options for the public comment will remain available until I close the public comment period for that specific item. Also, I'd like, as a reminder, to tell you the mission of the Senior Citizens Commission, which is to encourage, foster, and facilitate programs for the enhancement of all matters relating to the social, economic, and personal well-being of the senior population. Now I'd like to hand the meeting over to Bob to welcome our new commissioner.
Thank you, Chair Wang. So it is my pleasure to introduce new Commissioner Liz Foreman. And Liz, welcome, Liz. And
Thank
also,
you.
Yeah, and also Liz and her mother are both participants in our senior programs, and which gives her, a very unique perspective on what her and her mom's experiences have been, and her feedback to date has been terrific. And I think she's going to be a really huge asset to our commission. So I just wanted to welcome you, and Commissioner Foreman, if you'd like to say a few words or have anything to say, that'd be great.
So I'm very privileged to have the opportunity to serve as commissioner on the Senior Citizens Commission. As Bob said, I've had a lot of experience already with utilizing many of the services, and I'm very excited about continuing to enhance and promote the services that we have.
Perfect.
Well, again, welcome, and and congratulations, and thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Next, we are moving to the consent calendar. And what we have on here is the approval of the minutes from September 13th. So do commissioners that are here, do you need a minute to look over the minutes again for September 13th that you received in your packet? Or are you ready to, or you have any comments or concerns? Monica?
Yeah, I think most of the documents that were in this packet actually are identifying me still as the chair, and
Oh,
that needs to be corrected.
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, so I think that's on all, I think it's on all of them, actually.
Really? Oh, you're right. Up at the top,
Yeah,
the
right.
letterhead. Okay.
So that's my only comment on this.
So in the body also, or just up at the top in the
No,
letterhead?
it's in the on the top, either on the right or on the left on all of these documents in the packet.
Okay. So could I have a motion to accept the minutes as with the letterhead correction being noted?
Chair Wang, can I interject for a
Yes,
moment?
yes.
I think the date you gave was like a September meeting for the minutes, but I believe it's an October 6th meeting minutes. Am I correct in that?
No, the minutes were September 13th.
Okay, I think it must have been incorrect on my side. Thank you.
So I move to accept the minutes from the September meeting.
A second.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussions at all? Are we ready to vote? Any other discussion? Ready to vote? Oh, do we need a roll call vote for this? Lily?
Yes, I believe we do. So I can do that for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Vice Chair Lee,
I agree.
Commissioner Foreman,
I agree.
Commissioner Wang,
Yes.
motion is passed. Thank you.
Okay, now we are on to the public comment section of the meeting today. And I have another little announcement here. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the commission at this time. State law prevents the commission from taking action on any matter not on the agenda already. Your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. Public comment is limited to a total of 15 minutes. However, an opportunity for additional public comment may be provided later today, time permitted. Do we have any public participants today?
Commissioner Wang, yes, it looks like we have two attendees with their hands raised.
Okay, can we call on one of them?
Sure. Lindsay Rake, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I'm here and I just, first of all, wanted to introduce myself. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my comments. My name's Lindsay, and about a little over 4 months ago, I created a petition regarding the Mickelson Pool, the Mickelson Therapy Pool. And I believe that we've had a couple of representatives speak in the past, and I'm here today to tell you that this situation is becoming increasingly more dire. We have so many senior citizens and disabled members of our community who are bedridden and suicidal. Because I'm at the center of this advocacy movement, I get calls every day from members of our community in tears. I just 2 days ago, I was talking with a senior who called me and said she was suicidal because this is all because of this lack of access to this very vital resource in our community. For many seniors, this is the only way that they can exercise, is in this therapeutic pool. There was a meeting the other night of the Peninsula Healthcare District, and CEO Cheryl Fama presented her findings. She offered a presentation about her research regarding the pool, and our group, our folks are just continue to be frustrated by, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, it was well-intentioned, but Peninsula Healthcare District, well, first of all, CEO Janet Wagner of Mills Peninsula presented 2 alternative pools, and then the Peninsula Healthcare District added another 2 alternative pools onto a flyer. And these alternative pools are not viable options for the members, for the former patrons of Mickelson. Many of these seniors in the community cannot sit long enough. They cannot sit in a vehicle to travel to these other facilities. So there are wonderful facilities, but they're not in our county. And it just is maddening and mystifying. We have this perfectly wonderful, unique facility in this wealthy community, and we don't understand why it's not being preserved. And Sutter, we're just not getting anywhere with Sutter. I don't know what you can do to help us. I don't know what's appropriate. We just very much would appreciate any support, any pressure, any sway you might have with communicating with the Peninsula Healthcare District, with communicating with Sutter. If we would very much appreciate a letter. Again, I don't know what the protocol, if this is appropriate, but a letter of support expressing the value of a warm water pool in the community would be very helpful. If that's something you'd be willing to do. I very much appreciate Ellen Wang, and I have had some correspondence recently. Ellen, I really appreciate your interest in our plight, and I look forward to continuing to communicate with you. And again,
so Lindsay, can I just interject really quick? I really
Yes.
apologize.
Actually running out.
This is actually an item on our agenda this afternoon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was on the agenda.
Yeah, so the public comment section now is for anything that wasn't on the agenda.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. And
Okay.
unfortunately, I have a client in 15 minutes, so I don't know if I'll be here when you get to that item. So if I'm not here when you get to it, that's why. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay. Do we have another speaker?
Yes, we do.
Or,
Chair Wing.
okay.
What? Let me see. Michael Schrader, can you please unmute yourself?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I will talk when the item comes back up at the later point, but I have another request. One of our concerns is that going forward, that there's a process called the Community Healthcare Needs Assessment. It's done every 3 years. And the one that's currently in force, there'll be a new one next year. And various nonprofit healthcare organizations, like the 2 healthcare districts and the 8 hospitals, are preparing input to gather and focus groups and fact finding. Excuse me. And what we're trying to do is since we're in a current event, we can't do anything about it, but going forward, we would like to be involved in the process of showing. We've got 4,000 people that are interested in this thing. We would like, if you guys are involved at all into giving input to those health needs, that we have an opportunity to present during public testimony, and that we be contacted when those opportunities are available, so that as the plans develop this year and next year, we can try and get mobility as an issue and maybe make the top 10 list that the county CHNA plan develops. So there's an obligation of the nonprofits then to try and, if they can't provide new pools, then maybe we get them to reopen Sutters. But either way, that's a process we understand for the future. And we want to make sure that we do that also in case we're not successful with Sutter. So are you guys involved in it? Well, I guess I can't ask questions, but if you're involved in it, I'd like to email. I'll do it through Lindsay, what our request is, but we'd like to be involved in any future issues that in future activities that develop what's important in the county. we think that with 4,000 people needing the facility, that it's a substantial community healthcare need. And we want to get it codified so that in the next 3-year period, there's an obligation for the nonprofits in the county to work towards that goal. So I'm not sure how you guys do that, but can we get in on that when it occurs? I'm done. Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not sure actually the process either on that, what you were talking about, but we will sure, now that you've mentioned it, we have noted it and we will see what we can do. That's all I can say.
You're a subgroup of the city council, right? This commission.
Yeah, we're not allowed to respond during public comment.
Okay.
But yes,
Say is we've
But
noted.
it may
your
come up
comment.
as with the city.
Yes,
So
we
we'll be in contact on that. Thank you.
thank you. We have it noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Are there other public comments at this time?
No other public comments, but Commissioner Lee did have her hand raised.
Yeah, I had a question to the speakers about the Mickelson Pool, so maybe we can put that to the agenda item later on.
Okay, well, right now, we will be going to, if there's no more public comments at this time, we will go to the old business. And the old business is I'm looking at the wrong paper here. Old business, the age-friendly action plan. Update and review. And I believe we have Bob is going to be talking about that or starting to.
yes, I will. Thank you, Commissioner Wang. So what I wanted to do is we give you your regular updates regarding the age-friendly, not only the action plan, but just the age-friendly initiative in general. Today, what I wanted to do was just give you a brief example of what the actual format will look like for the age-friendly action plan. So what I would ask is, when I share this, is to pay less attention to the actual content, because it obviously is going to change, and we left it sort of bare intentionally so that we could just kind of look at the format and see if it's something that that you think is appropriate, and that we want it to be a working document. We were less interested in having some really big, thick, document that gets put on a shelf somewhere and doesn't get used. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that was digestible and easily available for people. So Commissioner Lee and I, in her other hat, she works diligently with the age-friendly task force. And we have been meeting with different city departments and gathering lots of information on what the city currently does and what they will be doing in the future. And that will help to populate the actual action plan. So I'm going to pull it up for you now. And let me know, give me a thumbs up if you can see that.
Yes, can you see our thumbs? Oh,
Okay, terrific. So again, this is the AARP requires that all age-friendly cities have an action plan. We actually are a little bit ahead of the game because we've implemented 2 of our projects already, one being the communications piece, and the other being the safe passageways for sidewalks and for seniors and everybody throughout the city. So this one sort of lays out the age-friendly action plan from 2022 through 2025. So it's a 3-year plan. Okay, so you'll have your cover page. We're not sure what that picture will look like. The San Mateo Bridge was the first one that was sort of picked out, but we have the ability to change that. we'll have a message either from the city manager, or it could be the mayor, could be Sheila. We'll talk more about that as we move forward. And then table of content. So we have the WHO age-friendly framework. We have community profile, and then we have the 8 domains of livability. And those domains are transportation, housing, which we're fortunate enough to have Sandy Council from CDD who will be helping talk about that in a little while. Next item. Social participation, respect and inclusion, public spaces, health and community services, volunteerism and civic engagement, and communication and information. So those are the domains that we're going to go with. They are the 8 most common ones. We didn't feel the need to step out and add any additional. Then the last portion of the plan will be the action steps. So when you have this, you're going to have the WHO age-friendly framework. And if you can see that, were you able to see the box that popped up here? I know the
Yes.
it's probably pretty small and difficult to read, but who gives us what the framework actually is a global age-friendly cities guide, and it proposes the 8 domains. And so that this section is more about just kind of telling you what the common threads are in a framework for an age-friendly action plan. Okay, the domains of livability, as I mentioned, here's the list of those. And then what we will do is get into community. The first page talks about City of San Mateo. And so it just gives a little bit of background.
Wow.
Talks about the city being incorporated in 1894 and just gives you know, a glimpse of what our city council looks like with the 5 members, our current mayor, and then some of the services, including public health, housing, human services, are managed by the county of San Mateo. So when we start talking about health in here, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we move through it, health for us is more about the programs that we have for fitness and exercise and mental health and things of that, as opposed to, you know, us running the city, you know, running a hospital or something to that effect. So, okay, so profile of the city of San Mateo. We have 104,000 residents. I think there's something that's super interesting here that I wanted you all to look at. So people 60 plus are employed, about 33%. So 1 in 3 of people 60 plus in San Mateo are employed. People 60 plus have a disability. 72.5% people 60 plus own their home, which I thought was really interesting. And then about 40% of households include someone 60 plus in age in the city of San Mateo. And again, I don't want to get too caught up in content, but I just want to give you an example of what some of these pages might look like. Now, the transportation portion, I wanted to give you a snapshot of that one because it's probably the most cooked of all of the examples that we would have. So at the top, you've got age-friendly transportation includes, and it gives us a little bit of accessible and convenient public transportation options, safe walkable sidewalks with benches, shade, and clearly marked sidewalks, well-maintained roadways with adequate lighting and clear signage. The community assets, so an example here, we've got Ready Wheels and Samtrans. I'm going to make sure that we add in our Get Around program that we actually put on. So that will be in there. It talks, it's got a lot about what the work that Vince and task force members did around the safe walking routes, how we identified the 4 basic sections where seniors most travel, you know, in our city. And it talks about what that key project is and how we work with Public Works on prioritizing some of those repairs. And then we've got housing, safe, affordable options near transportation and community services. And when we meet with each one of the different departments, and CDD and Sandy were the primary ones on this, we'll then, we have that information and we'll be using it to populate this page. So what you're going to see is each one of these domains, social participation, you'll have what the community assets are that we'll lay out across, and then we'll have a key project, which and this one is intergenerational community building. And then we'll lay out, after you go through each one of these domains, in public spaces, health and community services, volunteerism and civic engagement. And what we'll do is we'll list a lot of the main volunteer opportunities that we have. And then when we get to the end, that's when we move into the action steps. So a little bit of a formatting thing here, but action step number 1, work with the San Mateo Police Department to develop and present a series of community trainings on avoiding scams, fraud, and financial abuse targeting older adults. And what we wanted to do was give you an example of something that came from the conversations that Commissioner Lee and I had with the police department, that they actually talked about this, and they wanted to better communicate to our senior population how to avoid, these types of scams or frauds that actually target them. And so that was one of the action steps that we wanted. Another one is, as we mentioned before, the continue to collaborate with Public Works to track progress on the sidewalk improvements and identify priority areas and find next steps to improve pedestrian safety for older adults. So that was actually one of our projects that we had turned into AARP. Another one, continue publishing monthly age-friendly news articles and distributing them to community organizations. Again, Commissioner Lee and others have been instrumental in making that happen. You can see it in our e-news for the city. Also, a lot of other places that we've been communicating out our articles and getting information to seniors, whether it be in the newspaper or other. So then it'll just continue 4, 5, 6, and we can keep going with our action steps. So it's not only the action steps are not only relegated to the actual projects that we've identified, but they can be steps that we sort of agree on that we want to take moving forward that are even outside of the 4 that we identified. So that's sort of it in a nutshell of what the age-friendly action plan will look like. I just wanted to give you all a quick glimpse of what that document will ultimately be. So if you have any questions, I'm open to those.
I have one question.
Yep.
And maybe I could have asked this at the task force meeting that I attend, but I'll ask you. The action plan, I believe, has to include, I may be wrong, a way of measuring progress. Is that correct? That the action plan should say, we've communicated with so many people through the newsletter, and over time we've noted what we've discussed in the newsletters has actually improved activities and knowledge of the senior population. And we know this because, I mean, is that something that's supposed to go in the action plan?
I can answer that. I mean,
Yes,
Okay,
thank
yep.
you.
so the action plan assumes that we haven't started any of the projects yet. So there will be a stage after the action plan when we do measure the results and the progress we've made. But because we are ahead of the game, as Bob said, on some of these projects already, we have some results, but we wouldn't put them in the action plan at this point.
Okay, so then does the action plan have to include how we're going to figure out our results, even if we don't know the results?
Ideally, yes, there's some kind of description of how you measure progress.
Measure. Okay, so that will be in there.
And Commissioner Wang, I would add that, obviously we get to decide what we're going to measure and how we're going to measure it.
Right. But,
Things like
okay.
communication, maybe we choose to say, have registrations increased
Right.
around any of the items that we've promoted. For the sidewalks, rather than, go to Public Works and say, well, how many pieces of linear feet of sidewalk have been repaired? maybe it's just that we completed the project, we gave it to Public Works, and it's being used to help prioritize what gets done. You know, maybe that's a better measurement. You know, maybe that was a better goal in mind, as opposed to, you know, trying to figure out how many, you know, cubic feet or linear feet of sidewalk gets done. So we
Okay.
get to actually determine, you know, what we measure and how we measure it.
Okay, that will, okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Well, thank you very much. That, you know, that's our latest and greatest. We've got Commissioner Lee and I have a meeting tomorrow with the city's HR department to talk to them. They're one of the last remaining departments that we're going to speak to. And then Rachel Bell, who is our consultant helping us develop the action plan, should have most, if not all, of the information that she needs to sort of finalize it. We would obviously bring this back as a more cooked draft to all of you to take a peek at and give some feedback. And then we can kind of move forward from there.
Can I just add one thing? Bob and I also met with Christine Peralta, I think, and discussed how we are going to get some more publicity for this effort. And the plan has been made to add to the city's website a page that discusses age-friendly, and that gets continually updated on where we are and you know, the progress that we're making.
Yeah, which is, it's going to be great. So it'll just be an enhancement to what we currently have, which is great. Thank you, Commissioner Lee.
Well, I think that's doing a terrific job and moving forward, and that's terrific. Are there any other people that would like to make a comment on this? Do we allow public comments with this right now at all? Is there any public? Oh, go ahead. Who was that?
Sorry, Chair Wang, this is Lily. Yes, we do have one of our attendees with his hand raised.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Michael Schrader, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess this just falls into the same basket I was looking at. The process you have here looks greatly like what I was calling the CHNA, which is the Community Health Care Needs Assessment. They're taking information, they've got categories. I have a couple of questions. Can the public view this process on the website? Is there? So I understand you can't ask, so I'll just leave it rhetorical at that point. I'm going to go there and search for that, but is this a process that the reason I'm trying to find out is I'm trying to see who sets the parameters of those eight items and sets the priorities in them. Is that something that you did locally, or is that something that's done from some higher up organization? I'm just trying to find out if that's an avenue for public input.
You might want to have a look at the AARP website and their description of the age-friendly projects.
We're talking about AARP, the organization?
Yes, right. And basically,
oh, okay, all right.
They are the ones that have designed this whole effort and program, and that should give you.
That's a state process, or?
Pardon me?
Does that occur at a state level?
That's federal. I mean, we're worldwide, actually.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chair Wang, we have one more public comment.
Well, please let them speak.
Ginny K. Plato, will you please unmute yourself?
Thank you. You can hear me?
Yes.
Great. It's Plato, actually, no relation to the philosopher. Thank you. I'm coming in on this a little bit late. I just got a message from our team leader on the project to save the Mickelson Pool that we actually had an item on the agenda. I don't know if I missed that already or not, but I do have something to say in relation to the age-friendly project. This is based on the World Health Organization correct? And San Mateo has already been approved as an age-friendly city, to my understanding. But this is a continuing project.
This is, sorry, this is Bob Palacio with the city. So we're
Hi, Bob.
not able to answer questions right now from the public, but I will tell you yes.
Okay, because the only thing I'd like to say, and I tried to get this across to the Peninsula Health Care District at their meeting last week, that we've looked pretty carefully, and I think I said that I'm a part of the advocacy group to help save the Mickelson Pool. One of the details of the checklist of the World Health Organization for age-friendly cities is that, and I'm going to quote this, to be effective, older people must be involved as full partners. Older people will describe how the checklist of features matches their own experience of the city's positive characteristics and barriers. They should play a role in suggesting changes and in implementing and monitoring improvements, end quote. So we were pointing to this as the reason why in any possible therapeutic pool that we're trying to see come to fruition, hopefully the Mickelson Pool, but many possible.
I'm so sorry to interrupt again. We actually have that as an agenda item, so this isn't the appropriate time to comment.
Oh, okay, so I didn't miss that. That's great.
Actually, it's both.
But just in terms of what Mike was just saying, the idea that older people really should have an input, and I assume that that's a big push for your committee, judging by its title. So I will step aside and I will wait for our item to come up. My apologies.
Okay, thank you. Any other hands raised?
No other hands raised, Commissioner Wing.
Okay, so I believe we're ready. If there's nothing else as an old business item, we will go to the new business to this afternoon, moving along with the time here. And we have Sandy Council, housing manager from the Community Development Department, will do a presentation, give us a presentation this afternoon.
And Sandy, before you start, I just wanted to introduce Sandy Council, who's with our Community Development Department, and she's the housing manager. And Sandy's got lots of experience, super smart, and was gracious enough when Commissioner Lee and I met with Sandy to gather some information. She had agreed to come on and talk a little bit about the housing element. So with that, Sandy.
Thank you so much. Can you see the presentation? Okay. Well, what a nice segue to my topic from the age-friendly presentation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the housing element, what it is, what our process is. It's another plan, another strategy. And I'm going to start out with a couple demographics. And I was happy to see that Bob and I had the same total population for the city of San Mateo. So my chart on age is just a little different. And I wanted to show you that although the median age of the city of San Mateo is increasing steadily, it's mostly because as baby boomers age. And but as we see the over 65 age group grow, we also have a very large group in the 20 to 34, which is the young adult. And why this is important when it comes to housing is because even if our population was not to change, grow one person, the fact that people are living longer, and the fact that we have all these young adults, so they're staying in their homes longer, and we have a lot of young adults who are at that age where they're just starting households, moving out of their family homes and so forth. So just those two demographic trends creates more pressure on our housing, even without all the other issues that are creating housing. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, in San Mateo, as you know, a number of people commute out of the city to work and a number of people commute in. As a matter of fact, it's a relatively equal amount of people who go out and in every day. According to this census data, only 7,000 workers actually live and work in San Mateo. And so the reason why that kind of impacts housing is traffic. That's one reason why there's so many people driving around every day. It's because they're going to and from work. And what we've seen over the last, this is actually from the years 2002 to 2018, this is over the Bay Area. It's certainly a trend in San Mateo County and in San Mateo City, and that is that there's a large increase in jobs over the last 10, 15 years. Also, although some of them are high-paying, high-tech jobs, a large number are also lower-paid service type jobs as well. And so again, if people can't afford to live here, they will be commuting. Again, more traffic and more increased pressures on housing prices. This is just a chart. It's not the same time frame as the chart before, but as you saw, as jobs were increasing, but as you can see this over time, the new construction of housing has decreased, popped up a little bit in the last couple of years, but nothing like in the 50s and 60s when most of our housing was built. And we just haven't built enough housing to keep up with the jobs as well as the growing population. And like I said, the population's needs for more housing units. Income has a big role on whether you can afford to live in San Mateo or not. Although about a third of our population has income of 200,000 or more, there's also a third of it that is under 100,000, 20% under 50,000. So if you only make 50,000, you're not going to be able to afford what the asking rents are in our community right now. Now, these rents here, a 1-bedroom 2,300, 2-bedroom 3,100, those are not the average rents. A lot of people who have been living in their units for a long time or live in older buildings don't pay that much. But if you were looking for a rental right now, that would be about average out there. There's certainly, you can find things less and find things more. So that's just a significant housing cost in San Mateo, which I think everybody is aware of. I have a little bit of information just about how seniors are faring with the cost of housing. We use affordable. The rough definition of affordable is if you pay no more than 1/3 of your income toward housing. This is both renters and owners, and the blue bars are people who pay less than 30% of their income of housing. As you go up the scale there, it's different income groups. But the first two bars where there's 65% in the kind of teal color and 33% in the teal color, those are for individuals that make 30-50% of the median income, which is we're talking about 33,000 a year for the first category, about 50,000 a year for the second category. So obviously, if you don't make as much and with the high rents, you're going to pay a significant amount of your monthly income toward housing, which then decreases your ability to take care of your other needs. So that's just a snapshot on some statistics about housing affordability. I'm sure you're all very aware of that. So the housing element is actually a plan that we do. We're in an 8-year cycle. It's actually a chapter of the city's general plan. The general plan is the big master plan on how we guide development in our community and has several chapters. The housing element, land use, circulation, open space, recreation, all kinds of categories that overlap. However, the housing element is the one part of the general plan that is actually very regulated by the state and actually has to be approved by the state. Like I said, we're working on an 8-year plan that will be from 2023 to 2031. Some of the aspects that are included in the housing element is we want to make sure that we have a plan to address housing for all economic segments. As a matter of fact, we are assigned a number that we need to plan for. The whole Bay Area as a region was assigned a target of housing units to meet the needs for the next 8 years. That global number for the region was then distributed to each locality. So every city, town, or county has gotten a number assigned to them. It's called the Regional Housing Needs Allocation. We call it RHNA. And so the city of San Mateo needs to plan for, at least requires us to have the zoning in place to accommodate actually 7,000 units over the next 8 years. So part of the housing element is actually a list of sites, an inventory, so that we can demonstrate that there are opportunities for development in San Mateo. Some of the housing issues that the housing element provides strategy for is, like I said, providing housing at various, not only for various affordability levels to make sure we have a variety of sizes and types, to look for issues regarding displacement, to try to prevent lower income households being pushed out, especially because of rising rents. Trying to make sure that our housing has connections to employment and resources, and to plan for individuals with special needs, especially those in the lower income categories. So one area is ensuring inclusion. We kind of put this under the umbrella called fair housing. Based on preliminary input from some service providers, a handful of focus areas have already risen. One is tenant protections. Like I was talking about earlier, with the increase in rents, some owners are renovating their buildings and upgrading them and increasing rents, and then the existing tenants can no longer afford the current rents, or they might be displaced because of construction. There's a number of issues that have been identified already. Accessibility. We know that some people who have physical mobility issues don't necessarily know their rights on what they can ask a landlord to do or not. We have an agency that has been helping people with that, to know where they can what they can ask for and how to get it. And then just housing choices is just encouraging that housing is in all neighborhoods, so that people have access to good amenities, good schools, services, etc. I'm going to highlight just a handful of the programs that the city either has or we're working on or would like to expand on that I think might be more relevant to senior housing. One is encourage affordability. The city has a couple programs in place. The picture on the left there is Station Park Green at the old Kmart site. That's a market rate project, but the developer was required to set aside 10% of the units to be affordable. And so scattered throughout this building are affordable units. On the right is actually a senior housing project that the city worked with a nonprofit developer. That's Rotary Floridas. And that was an example of where the city has a number of funding sources to support affordable housing. And this was an example where we provided a loan to the developer to help construct this property. And city currently has 3 major funding sources for affordable housing. And we're working on a project right downtown right now. You may have heard of it, Kiku Crossing. It's the old parking lot on the other side of Railroad, 4th and 5th and Railroad, where we're constructing 225 units and a public parking garage on 2 parking lots there. The city's putting in $7.5 million on the housing side and $5 million on the parking. So it's a major project. There, they're great projects, but they do take a long time to put together and they take a lot of money. So even though we try to do that, we try to look for other tools as well. Transit-oriented development, that's locating housing, shopping, office, all in close proximity to public transit. It's compact in nature. It's a development pattern that shortens the travel distances and makes it the area more walkable, more access to public transit by clustering housing and jobs together. Creates a more livable area. Bay Meadows 2 is an example of how city has implemented that. And it's interesting that the age groups that show more willingness to get out of their cars are typically seniors and young adults that I talked about earlier. They are more interested in walkability than some of the rest of us who are dependent on our cars. Preservation of existing housing is another focus area, and this is something that I think there's more interest in doing more of. The property in the middle there was an apartment building that came up for sale, and it was totally at risk of an investor buying it and jacking up the rents. And we were able to work with a nonprofit housing, HIP Housing, to acquire the building. And they went and renovated it, and they actually lowered the rents instead of raised the rents on many of the tenants. That was a partnership with the county and the city of San Mateo. And I do think this is an area where there has been some interest in trying to do more of these kind of projects. The city also has just a minor home repair and a rehab loan program that we work with. We fund through a couple of nonprofits. And these programs particularly assess seniors who own their own homes but don't have the cash flow or the resources to try to hire people to fix their homes. So that's a program that we see continuing. Accessory dwellings. This is people being able to build a little unit in their yard. It could be attached. It could be detached, like these little cottages. They've been referred to as secondary units, granny units. And the city revised its ordinance, excuse me, in 2017 because to comply with some state laws to make the construction of these units easier. And so far we've streamlined the approval process. We've developed a flat fee, and we've relaxed some of our previous standards to comply with the state laws. And we've seen a difference. In 2018, we had 8 applications for these units. And in 2019 and 20, they went up to 45 and 52 respectively. So the city's streamlining has made an impact, and we're working on another round of amendments currently. As a matter of fact, we hope to go to a study session at the first of the year to even tweak it further to encourage more of these. And why we think these are important is because a couple things. Because they're smaller, they tend to be less rent. And a survey that was done by Berkeley showed that Bay Area wide, a significant percentage, and I'm sorry I don't remember it, but was about 40% of these units actually house family members. They're not rented out to the public. So the idea of having extended family close by really helps, especially as seniors age in place. These are solutions that can be super helpful. So our process is we're moving forward on the housing element to have a draft plan after the first of the year, with the intent of submitting it to the state later in the spring. Our general plan, we're also doing an update. So we're kind of like on these 2 timelines, but they do overlap. And so I just wanted to show that, because many of you may have heard about the general plan process, and then all of a sudden we have this housing element process. And the reason why the housing element was split out was again because of the state requirements, and the state tells us the timeline. The general plan's our own timeline, but the housing element is required. Everybody in the Bay Area does their housing elements at the same time. So I just wanted to let you all know about this process, and if you feel like you would like to participate in any of our workshops or give us your opinions on housing matters as it may relate to you as to seniors or anyone, we'd love to get your feedback. We have a website set up for the housing element. You can you can get on our mailing list so you're notified when we have meetings and when draft plans are available. We don't have any draft plans available yet. That will be after the first of the year. We will have a fair housing workshop January 13th. And that is specifically to look at the needs of people due to their race, due to their age, due to their disabilities, their lack of access to housing. That kind of whole umbrella of fair housing will be the specific topic on January 13th. So that's something you might be interested in. And then we have a tentative date at the beginning of February to have a joint study session with our planning commission and the city council to kind of prioritize what housing policies and programs we've heard throughout these current months as we're doing community outreach, so that we can prioritize what to put into our draft plan. Oh, and I forgot, there's an online survey. If you go to our website, there's an online survey, which is just a couple multiple choice questions that ask your opinions on what programs you think we should prioritize and what strategies make most sense to you. So yes. Oh, also, if you are affiliated with a group that wants to have like actually a conversation about this, we're happy to either host or help you put your own meetings together. You could do surveys as a group, anything. We're kind of like, because of COVID and we can't meet in person, we're looking at all ways to get people to talk. So if anyone has a creative idea, or you have a group that's meeting on a regular basis, I'm happy to come and either do this presentation, or we could either just do like a discussion, a conversation. And that's our phone number, our email address for the housing division if you have any questions on any of this. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. I'll wait. Do the commissioners have any questions? Hello? I can't hear anybody.
Chair Wang, I don't think anyone has any questions.
Okay, I have one question, or two questions actually. One was within the housing element, and I wasn't clear about this, and maybe you said it, is there affordability? I know is a major concern. Is there a specific senior affordability? Is that a concern in a certain projects? I know you showed a picture of the senior affordable housing at 27th and Flores, the 3-story building. But I was wondering about Kiku Crossing. There's affordability, but will there be specific senior affordability?
So on the Kiku Crossing, that is a family project, but we do have a set aside in that project for I can't remember if it's 8 or 10 units for the developmentally disabled community.
Okay.
And so, and we also have we also have a set aside for 25% of the units to be available to public employees. So that's school districts, city employees, county employees, et cetera. So what we find when we have a project is, we already have like 3 preferences in that particular project. But we are looking at doing a senior housing project on the old Talbot's parking lot.
Oh,
That little, there's a little 1/4 acre parking lot at Railroad and anyway, 3rd, 4th. So that we do, so that's in the very, very, very early stages because the developer is working on developing most of that block, and there will be a little section of senior housing there. So, but to get to your point about the housing element, it is required for us to identify affordable goals, not necessarily broken out by subgroup. However, definitely analyzing the needs of seniors is part of the analysis, and whether if the city would like to prioritize senior housing, then that's a decision the city can make. And so that's where input to us, which you could do through the survey or even just contacting us or attending the fair housing workshop in January. Seniors and those with disabilities would be 2 categories that would be covered in that.
thank you. The last thing was that I'd like to ask is your presentation here. I was wondering if you would distribute that to us, because
Yes.
I'd like to digest some of those numbers.
Yes, I can send it to staff, my slide deck, and you can distribute it. How's that?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was very, very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay, sensing no further comments, we will go on to the since it's 5 o'clock already, I hope it's okay to stay a little bit later. And because we'd like to get to the next new business item, letter of support for reopening the Mills Peninsula Medical Center Aquatics Program.
Excuse me, Commissioner Wang.
Yes.
I just want to make note that there were no public comments for that last item, so you can go ahead and move on.
Oh, okay. I didn't see any on the side.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
okay.
can't. I don't.
No, that's fine. There
can't
are no
see the-
public comments. I just
Oh,
want to make
good.
note for
Okay.
everyone else.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we're going on to our final new business item this evening, which is this afternoon, the Mickelson Pool. And Bob will lead the discussion. Bob?
Thank you, Commissioner Wang. So as we know, and for Commissioner Foreman, who this is your first meeting, on a number of occasions, we have had supporters of the Mickelson Pool reopening attend our meetings. And commissioners at our last meeting had talked about the potential for creating a letter of support. And so what I did was I drafted sort of an example letter, and I was hoping that the discussion today could just be around, is this the direction that the commission would like to go? One, do you want to create a letter of support? And 2, is the content of what the example that I have, do you feel that that's appropriate? So what I'd like to do is sort of pull up the letter. And again, this is just an example draft. There's nothing in stone. And then you all can decide whether or not this is something that you feel strongly about. So let's see. All right, let me know if you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, so again, dated today, we have it to Janet Wagner, as the CEO of Mills Peninsula Medical Center. We're also CCing the San Mateo City Council, Jillian Thomas, who was a responder to some inquiries regarding, what the length of the closure would be, why it was closing, those type things. Sarah Crevens, who's the president and CEO of Sutter Health, and then the Sutter Health Board of Directors were the folks that would also receive this. So it starts out, dear Ms. Wagner, the City of San Mateo Senior Citizens Commission is sending you this letter of support in the hopes that the Mickelson Aquatic Facility will reopen when conditions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic improve. We are a commission appointed by the San Mateo City Council with the focus on improving the lives of older adults in the San Mateo community. As such, we recognize the positive impact that the Mickelson Aquatics Facility has had on the lives of our senior and disabled population. We respect and understand that you have communicated that the decision to permanently close the pool was made primarily because of the impact of COVID-19 on resources and safety. We respectfully ask that if conditions improve and resources become available, that the Mickelson Pool reopen and therapeutic aquatic programs be restored. Respectfully, and then Chair Wang would sign it. So I think it's important to note that we've heard opinions. We've heard, lots of different compelling stories for why the Mickelson Pool is so important. I think for us, when I was drawing up this draft, we wanted to really stick to facts, and so what we, that's basically what I did is to say, look, they communicated outwardly in a letter with letterhead, stating that the reason that they were making the decision to close was due to limited resources and safety protocols around the COVID-19 pandemic. And so what our letter of support is asking that as we sort of come out of this pandemic, and if resources become available and conditions improve, that the Senior Commission would be supportive of the reopening of that and recognizes the Mickelson Pool as an asset to seniors in the San Mateo community. And so that was sort of it. And I can, you can open it up to discussion, Chair Wang, and get some feedback from the commissioners on this topic. And then I do believe we'll probably have a few people from the public that want to speak on this as well.
Would any of the commissioners like to speak at this time?
I would.
Go ahead, please.
So I think Bob's right to focus on facts for us here as commissioners. And there's a couple of facts that I think we should be thinking about. It is apparent to me from publications by Sutter Health. If you look at their website and their financial reports, their recent statements on that Sutter Health is generally in a mode of basically closing down programs that are not used by a lot of people. And that seems to be one of their business plans, that it's not just the pool, but they have other problems, other programs that they've been closing, like they had a senior focus program, which they have closed down, and others that are just not their main goal as they see themselves developing and going forward with their business. So that seems to be one fact that we should think about. And the other fact is the question I have, I think, to the advocates that are here today, and that's what is the legal situation? This pool was donated. The money for building the pool, I understand, was donated by various people, but there's one main donor, obviously, and that's the one that the pool has been named for. And I would want to know what are the legal restrictions on Sutter Health with respect to the use of that pool. Is that a donor restricted asset that, you know, they may have some limits on what they can do with it. And I don't know if anyone has actually made an effort to get that documentation and find out what the facts are on that.
Can we ask the public now to speak? Is that what you would like?
No,
Was it inappropriate?
generally we take comments from
Okay.
the commissioners.
Okay,
And then when we open it up, and it won't be a discussion between the public, but obviously
right.
if, as Commissioner Lee, you know, sort of gave, you know, a little bit of guidance on some things that if they're out there, if someone has knowledge about that they could speak on, but it's public comment is not set up to
Okay.
be a discussion between the commissioners and the public.
The only comment that I had was that whatever draft we decide that we would like to submit, if we do, that it would be reviewed by the city attorney.
Mm.
And then my only other comment was that I agree with the individuals that were CC'd, but it seems to me that this kind of broadens to the county in that not all of the users are City of San Mateo residents, even though the facility is located in San Mateo. And so perhaps the letter could include, again, someone from the county, if we move forward with the letter itself.
And actually, I have a question on that too. It wasn't clear to me who would be the author of the letter, who would be signing it. Was it the commission, or would it be the city council or the mayor? I'm not sure how that would work.
The letter would be coming from the Senior Citizens Commission.
Okay.
Okay. I would just like to add that I totally agree that we should stick to the facts. But I think the letter just needs to be a little more assertive. That was basically what I would like to add to it. That we'd like, and specifically stating that we'd like to make the opening of the Mickelson Pool a priority when resources and conditions improve. That was basically where I was coming from. And when I said previously that I think the letter is a good letter and a good launching off point. Also, it's my understanding that I'm not sure how big Sutter is, so I'm not sure the Sutter Health Board of Directors, is that a local board, or are we where the decisions come from? So I'm not sure whether it would help if maybe we can find this out, where the decisions actually come from and get to the source of who makes the decisions and send them the letter.
So
Yes,
Sutter is a $20 billion company, and they're headquartered in Sacramento. I understand it.
okay,
And I believe this decision would be made all the way at that level and not locally.
okay, so we need to get that to Sacramento. Or include Sacramento, maybe with a local group if there is one, whatever the organization is, to get further to the top, for them to be put on notice too. And that's that's where I believe that the more people, the more organizations let Sutter know how how affected their decisions are to the population that we are concerned about, the seniors of our area. Possibly they'll think about it. We don't really have any idea whether a support letter will help at all, but it may help at least us moving forward. And I also concur with what Monica says about the finding out about Commissioner Lee, that is Monica, that about the legal restrictions that were placed initially and the donor restrictions that were placed on the initial donations. Was there, what can we do with there? Is there money left or how that, let's look into that. Or has anybody looked into it?
Chair Wang, so I do see that our department director, Sheila Kansian, has her hand up.
Okay.
You can give a little bit of information that would be helpful on some of the topics that you've been talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Bob and senior commissioners. Just two things. There is no local board of directors for Sutter Health.
Okay.
So there is a state board, and that's who we referenced in the copying of the letter.
Okay.
The local representative is Janet Wagner, the CEO
Okay.
of Mills Peninsula. But there is no local Sutter board that manages the Mills Peninsula Hospital apart from the state board of directors. And then just secondly, I would be very cautious to wade into the legal issues around how the money was donated. That's really not within our purview.
Okay.
We would want to make sure that the folks who are part of the citizens group have that information, but I don't know that it has any relevance. To my knowledge, the city did not ever donate any money to help construct that pool. We did. I think it might have more relevance to that, but I would caution us to stay away from that. I think it's an important fact for the Citizens Committee to make sure that they have the most correct information about that.
Okay, good. Thank you. That was, thank you. I didn't know any of that. Thank you. No donations by cities.
Yeah, and I agree entirely that we should not be the ones to make that research or, find out. But I would like to know if anyone has answers to that question.
Yes, okay. So now can we open it up to the public if the public is here?
Yes, Chair Wang, we do have one person with their hand raised. Michael Schrader, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, so I'm here. Before I start my 2 minutes, do you want questions answered like you just had about the facts on the case and what it is we're asking? You were just asking, I think, Ms. Wang, some questions about the specifics.
Michael, just again, a point of order that the interaction between the commissioners is not, we're not allowed to.
Okay, sure, no problem.
If you have some answers to some of the questions that they had posed,
yes, I do.
That might be helpful. So you can just kind of present those as you see fit.
Okay, so a couple of things came up. First is that Sutter actually has a board at the Bay Area level. We are seeking, in fact, finding with them the founding documents that would have the restrictions that you asked about. We don't yet have that. We are working with a lawyer to go back and get those records because sometimes you have to demand them. You can't just ask for them. The reason the letterhead was requested is we wanted to be CC'd on that when we were trying to discuss the issue with Peninsula Healthcare. None of the documents we brought in were addressed to them or CC'd to them. So they couldn't accept them in their record, even though they knew they were there. So we'd like to ask if possible that you CC us on that letter. So we have some standing with them in terms of what we're doing is we're asking for every political body that has a interest or standing on the issue to look at the facts. And then to the extent that you have facts, not opinion, write a letter that says that you would support seeing the pool reopened, that you would support seeing anything that could happen towards warm water mobility therapy, and that those kind of things be included in the community health needs assessment that's being processed now. So I didn't want to go in anymore because I understand some of this right now is not, it's hearsay, not fact. But that's where we were on that. So we are pursuing that. We'll keep you folks informed. Regarding the letter, that's the main reason why we're here tonight, is we would like to be included in the CC line, and I'll have to get you the specifics that we could be, just as a copy so we know. And then if you could also add Peninsula Healthcare District to your list in CCs. They also don't have any more standing with Sutter than the city does, in that Sutter's a private business and they don't have any contractual agreement on the facility, but they've been very, very involved in pressing Sutter. Sutter has lots of money. They're not revealing they pull more money out of San Mateo than they pull. 25% of their net profit comes from San Mateo out of all their other facilities. So they've got money. We're trying to show that, and that's why we may have to go to the legal issue. But they're also closing programs that may be in violation of their current health needs assessment. They had an implementation plan for 2019 through 2021. And we are looking at whether or not they met those requirements the IRS puts on them to provide care to the community. That's why we did that. So if you just leave you with that the letter as it is will be more than helpful. We'd like to be included in the official copy on it. We are forming a 501c3 right now. So we have a way to have a standing as this thing moves forward. And also so we can set up a GoFundMe and try and deal with the cost of the legal issues and the kind of investigation you were asking about. Sutter Peninsula did release a financial analysis from an independent party of Sutter's ability to pay and how much they make locally and then send out to the rest of the state. So we can get you a copy of that, or you can ask Peninsula for that. And that's about it. We would like to be included, and we'd like to have Peninsula included because they're the ones that are taking the lead role of trying to get Sutter to do this. They're also considering building another pool like that, perhaps at their Peninsula Wellness Community up in Burlingame. And they're encouraging Millbrae and San Bruno in their pool projects to consider warm water pools. We don't need one, we need more. So you could help by just giving a positive support for that as a need for seniors, because it's a mobility and arthritis issue. I'm one of the people, I've been bedridden for 16 months and I can't do anything. I'm losing strength. So without going down the sad tale that the 4,000 of us that have signed the petition have got, we have a reasonable request for Sutter to do something and be responsible to the community. In any way you can help, that's what we're asking. And I know Lindsay is talking to Commissioner Wang, so she can probably relay the specifics, but that's what we're asking. You guys are a key voice for the elderly. And so we want to make sure that we do that. And we also expect that this may have to go for you guys up to your city council. I understand that, but I think you guys have standing on the issue. You're involved in aging and aging well rather than aging disgracefully, which is what's happening to us. We have hundreds of people like me that can't get out of bed. So whatever you can do on that, we would appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other public speakers?
Yes, we do, Chair Wang. Jenny K. Plato, will you please unmute yourself?
Thank you very much. Yes, the need for warm water therapy pools is growing, not diminishing in this city and in this county. And we really, really appreciate your consideration and follow through on getting a letter to, shall we say, the powers that be. We've been working day and night to try and move the hearts of Sutter individuals. It doesn't seem to be happening. I did send a pretty detailed, I don't know if I did or just our group did send a letter to Commissioner or Service Managers Palacio with more details. Excuse me, at that time we were targeting Sutter more. We really do need to have the Peninsula Healthcare District targeted as well. And we were hoping to broaden it out to beyond the Mickelson Pool to also declare the need for this type of therapy service for seniors and the disabled, but you are the senior commission. And so, I understand that that's your focus. One thing I'd like to state that I heard and maybe would like to correct, I heard Commissioner Lee say that it seemed that Sutter was closing less attended or less popular programs. That's really not the case. It appears from just common sense and more thorough research that, believe me, we've done, that it is the less profitable programs that are being targeted. And this is such a shameful approach, actually, when you consider how much money the Sutter facilities are making in other areas. And they really are charged with providing services to the community, as Mike Schrader said. And it's not right that they should get away with it. We are moving forward in the areas that Mr. Schrader just described, but any types of letters that we can get from commissions such as yourself that will be supportive. And I love the idea, Commissioner Wang, of making it more affirmative. It's really time to put the fire to the feet here. It's people are in pain, people are losing mobility, and we want to see it stopped. It's not right, it's not fair. And if you can move your hearts to help us by writing a passionate letter and direct it as we're hoping. If you need any more information, you can direct it to Lindsay Rake, who is going to hopefully maybe speak next. I don't know, but I know Mr. Palacio there has our information, and we'd be more than happy to fill in any more info that you need to be more accurate. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there another public speaker?
I'm not seeing any other hands raised. Oh, somebody just raised their hand. Lindsay Rake, could you please unmute yourself?
Hi there. I apologize. I'm feeling a little out of the loop here because I had to leave most of the meeting to work with a client, and now I'm back. So I'm not sure what's been covered, but I just wanted to tell you that I am available by phone or email. If there are any additional questions, I'm happy to send you Ginny and Mike's contact information. Ellen, I'll email that to you so you have their information. And I did speak a bit at the beginning, so just echoing the last bit that I heard Ginny say just now. It's just this crisis that we're in the middle of here, and that we just really would very much appreciate any support you could offer. It sounds, I got the impression from the last bit that I heard as well that you have a letter that you'll be drafting. So just we are so grateful for your help, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you maybe didn't get answered earlier. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more public speakers, Liliana?
Chair Wang, I do not see any other hands raised at the moment.
Okay. Any more commissioners or the commissioners that have spoken? Do you have any further comments? No further comments. Okay. So do we need to take a vote? Or what do we need to do at this point? Because I'm not quite sure. Do we need to take a vote that we're going to draft a letter and
I think
support?
Chair Wang, I would say that no formal vote was needed, just from what you're gathering from the other commissioners, that you could ask staff to continue with the draft of that letter and prepare it for your review, and then for you to send on as a letter of support.
Okay, do we need to distribute the letter to besides the commission, do we need to have the letter reviewed and okayed by other people or anybody else, like the city council or anything like that?
No, my understanding is that we would be, this letter is coming from the Senior Citizens Commission. The council would be made aware that this commission was sending a letter of support on this topic, as they have been approached, with this same topic as well. So it would be more of an FYI.
FYI, okay. Okay. Very good.
So I will take into account some of the feedback that I received from the commissioners on the letter, as far as using words like priority and things of that nature. I'll make sure that the CC list grows a little bit and incorporates the Peninsula Healthcare District, and as well as I'm not sure what the community body is, but I can reach out and kind of figure out that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Monica?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand exactly what's going to happen. So Bob will redraft the letter and then circulate it. Is that what the plan is?
Yes, I think if I were to, Commissioner Lee, if I were to draft the letter and then we were to wait until the next commission meeting, I think too much time goes by. So what I'd like to do is use the existing sample letter that we have, make some additions to it. I can send it to Chair Wang, and then Chair Wang, you can get back to me on any changes that you would like. You can probably, I'm not sure whether you share it with the vice chair or the entire commission, but we can talk through it as we move forward.
Does that answer your question?
Well,
Right.
if we, are we now being asked to approve anything? Or is that basically something that's going to happen whether or not we say anything further? I'm just not sure.
No, I think if you are against sending the letter of support or crafting, we continue crafting the letter of support for this body to send on, I would make that known now, and then we can take that into account, or you can take that into account.
So I'm not against sending a letter. I just would like to know what is being sent out before we give a final approval. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Yes, well, then we will include you. Do we need to include all the commissioners? That's a question. To
I just
view the letter.
As a point of order, and Sheila, maybe you can help me with this. It's okay for the commissioners to view this letter individually and then speak with Commissioner Wang. And I think that's.
I think the more important point is that if there are, as Bob said, if there are those commissioners who don't want to send the letter on behalf of the commission, we need to know that now. I think at this point, it really becomes more of a wordsmithing exercise. I think we've heard both from the commission as well as the public, the kinds of things that they want added. Typically in the past, when the Parks and Recreation Commission has sent a letter, it's the chair that signs off on it. And so I would suspect that we would do a similar process for this letter here.
Thank you. Does that answer, Commissioner Lee?
Yeah, I hear the answer.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of this particular process being followed here, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. I believe we have come to the end of or close to the end of our meeting, and I please forgive me for letting the meeting run on. Do we have any reports and announcements from staff or commissioners?
Good evening. I just want to be real quick. I just want to say welcome to Commissioner Foreman. We're very excited to have you on the commission and we look forward to working with you. And we just have one exciting upcoming, our lunch program is going to be modified into sitting inside. We're going to be offering the lunch program to be, you can take it with you or you can come in with the to-go lunch and sit down and sit with your friends. And so we're going to start this in December and we're very excited that the seniors have asked for them to come in and eat with their friends. And so we're going to be doing this change in December and we'll see how long it lasts before we have a full-on back in with China and silverware meals, but we're very excited about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just wanted to ask one more thing of the staff, and I hope that it's not, doesn't require a lot of discussion at the moment because of the time. But at the last two meetings, not this meeting, but the prior to, there was a man that spoke about difficulty walking because of the new parklets in downtown. The restaurants that have been, due to COVID, have moved themselves out onto the street. And I was wondering if there is any way we could find out about the impact of that, if it was just that one gentleman or the impact of parking downtown. If I don't know if it's Public Works or what department would know information about, did it impact the handicap spots or people having to walk a distance away? Is that, I'm not sure what the percent is. I have to say that I don't eat downtown regularly.
So Commissioner Wang, what I can do is try to get as much information as I can regarding the parklets and the street closures in downtown. And if I can find someone in the city that can give a short presentation on it at our next meeting, I'll do that. If not, I'll make sure that I have the information for you and try to give us as much background as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was an individual person or if he was just representative of many. So thank you. All right, I believe that is the end of our meeting tonight. And I'm looking for my original papers here. I believe it's time that I can adjourn the meeting. So I adjourn the meeting. It's 5:39 for anybody that's interested, and have a good evening. Thank you all for attending, and it's good that we have our new commissioner, Ms. Foreman, and we'll be happy to see you again in 2 months, which will be the next meeting, which will be in the second Monday in January. Okay, good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much. Good job, Lily.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and I hope you get